Uma Musume has taken the internet by storm over the past few months. Rarely have I ever seen a gacha game unite people quite like it has, and never have I seen a gacha game inspire such joy and camaraderie in people. I myself have not only fallen in love with the game, but the franchise as a whole, having consumed every season of the anime and most of the available manga as well. And the Uma that without a doubt can be considered the flagship girl, the protagonist of the franchise, is someone who, ironically, never was a protagonist of her own season in the anime. 3 seasons, 2 OVAs, 1 spin-off, and 1 movie, and yet Goldship's role never grew beyond being a supporting character or part of an ensemble cast. Now, you might think the face of the franchise would be someone who was the lead of one of these seasons of the anime. Maybe Special Week, who is on the app icon of the game and who was the lead of season 1 of the anime. Maybe Tokai Teo, who was the lead of season 2, probably still the best and most well received season of the anime, and whose real life counterpart lived a life so epic it feels like it was handcrafted to be an awesome story. Or maybe Oguri Cap, whose anime spin-off seemed to have breathed new life into the franchise, and who is immensely popular with the fans in her own right. All of those are valid ideas who would be perfect fits for the role. But whether intended or not, Goldship getting her own show, Takatoshi, being the self-proclaimed horse girl publicity director, seems to indicate Cygames has leaned into her being the face of the franchise regardless. But although Goldship's 6 G1 wins, including 2 consecutive wins at the Takarazuka Kinen, are very impressive, his accolades by themselves don't explain the huge role he plays in the Uma Musume franchise. Because not only was Goldship not the best Japanese racehorse in his generation, that title will probably go to Gentle Donna, one of the few horses to have won the title of JRA's Best Horse of the Year 2 times, and one of only 3 fillies to have done that. But there was another mare from the same pedigree who raced around the same time who also outclassed him. Orfevre, who won Japanese Horse of the Year in 2011 along with 3 other JRA awards and later got inducted into the JRA Hall of Fame. And so, with all that being said, it makes Goldship's popularity all the more fascinating. Today, we're diving into what makes Goldship so special, his life, and what made him as popular as he is today. This video is a bit different from the usual videos I make, so if you enjoy it, make sure to show it by liking, commenting and subscribing, so I can make more of this type of video in the future. To start with though, you can't talk about Goldship or pretty much any racing horse without talking about their pedigree. Goldship was the last success of the so-called stemma combination between Stay Gold and Meteoro McQueen. The sire, Stay Gold, was definitely top horse when it comes to pure racing skills, but his temperament was the thing holding him back throughout his career. In one of his most impressive performances, the Kyoto Daishoten 2001, where he managed to beat both Narita Top Road and TM Opera O, some of the best horses of that generation, he was later disqualified for cutting off and injuring Narita Top Road during the race. Another very notable characteristic of Stay Gold was his rather small stature, looking more like a pony than a full-grown racehorse. So, the owners came up with a brilliant idea. Breed Stay Gold with a large horse, point flag, that way the child would inherit both a robust body and excellent racing skills. And the result of that? Goldship. A big horse with exceptional racing skills, specializing in long distances, just like his dam sire, Meteoro McQueen. However, while his physical attributes were amazing, Goldship's personality was a bit troubling, just like that of most other horses Stay Gold's lineage. Inheriting the fierce personality from Stay Gold, the playful demeanor from Meteoro McQueen, and the nervousness from Point Flag was the recipe for a chaotic horse. On the physical side, however, most would say that Goldship inherited most of his traits from Meteoro McQueen. The big, powerful frame, the grey coat, and the aptitude on long-distance turf are all things that can be traced back to her. And this is also why these two are so close in the Uma Musume franchise. Goldship was often called the second coming of Meteoro McQueen by fans. However, if you compare Goldship as we know him now to his younger self, you would see almost no resemblance. In fact, Goldship was a rather shy and calm foal, partly because his mother, who was supposed to raise him, was apparently rather neglectful. This meant that Goldship never even really interacted with her unless he was afraid in the presence of other people, and not even his fur color was the same. Rather than the grey we saw during his racing days, or the pure white it turned into after his retirement, Goldship's fur was a chestnut brown in his young days. Looking virtually the same as his half-brother Orfevre, many people in the Japanese horse racing community doubted that there even was a photo of Goldship, and it took a lot of convincing for them to believe it was really him. By now, it should be no secret that Goldship had a special personality. Although a troublesome personality is something that runs in his family and that many horses related to him also have, Goldship became famous and popular because of this. Especially noteworthy are his facial gags. Goldship would often stick out his tongue like dogs do, or do some other weird facial expression. His trainers reportedly said that Goldship would make sounds and faces that they'd never see another horse do, and Goldship especially enjoyed doing this in front of the camera. This was because Goldship was reportedly a very smart horse. Many believed he could understand English or would purposefully pose and act silly for the crowd. And although he was a very temperamental horse, he would act quite kind and gentle around children. But that eccentricity was not all playful. Goldship could be quite dangerous and had a habit of kicking and bullying stable staff or other horses. For example, he had altercations on track with both Gentle Donna and Phenomenal. But his biggest rivalry was with Tosin Jordan. When young Goldship was transferred to a new stable, Jordan, as the boss of that racing ground, went over to intimidate him. The two were separated before Goldship could retaliate and has been trying to kick him on sight any chance he got since then. This kick happiness was also the reason why Goldship had a red ribbon on his tail, which indicated not to approach him from the back, as there would be a high risk you would be kicked. His nickname during racing days was Ichigo Daifuku, which is a sweet more commonly known in the West as strawberry mochi. The Daifuku part came from his white and fluffy hair. The strawberry part then got added later on. And what I find is some really cool wordplay, the word Ichigo can also be read as 1-5, which is a reference to the fact that in 2013 his race results were 1st, 5th, 1st, 5th. This naturally was quite frustrating to gamblers, as it meant when betting on Goldship he would either win big or lose big. And yet, despite that inconsistency, fans adored him. In fact, during his retirement race, the Arimakinen 2015, he received louder cheers than the winning horse at the time. Hard as it might be to believe, there was one human who could control the temperamental horse, and that was the main groom, Takatoshi Imanami. After wins, Goldship would often celebrate with him instead of the jockey, and Goldship trusted him like he did no other human. Still, although his mischievous personality was much more subdued when with him, it was still very much there. For example, when they were in France for the Arc de Triomphe race, they were taking a walk in a forest. Goldship got excited by something and sprinted away, leaving Imanami by himself and lost in the middle of the forest. Still, you could definitely see how much Goldship liked him, especially after his retirement. Even though Imanami moved on, working with other horses with temperaments, he still continued visiting Goldship on Big Red Farm. And when he did visit, Goldship immediately recognized him, approached him, and behaved unusually gently with him. But enough talking about Goldship's personality. What would a video about a racing horse be without actually talking about its racing history? Goldship debuted in July of 2011, winning 2 of his first 4 races as a 2-year-old. However, 2012 was when he really started going. Starting off the year with a G3 win, he was then allowed to participate in his first G1 race, the Satsuki Show. This race was leg 1 of the Japanese Classic Triple Crown, the most prestigious achievement in Japanese horse racing. It consists of 3 races restricted to 3-year-olds, meaning every horse only has one shot at achieving it. In the over 80 years that this achievement has existed, there have only been 8 horses to actually win all 3 of these races. and Goldship started his attempt at an achievement of, well. At the Satsuki show, he delivered what is, to this day, his most iconic race performance. He went into the race as 4th favorite with 7-1 odds. Throughout most of the race, he sat at the back, waiting for his time to shine. Entering the final corner of the course, Uchida, the jockey, took a gamble. He steered Goldship towards the inside railing, something the others avoided due to the turf still being rough from previous races. And then, Goldship made magic happen. Within 15 seconds, he went from dead last to first, making overtaking the whole field seem like child's play, and finishing 2.5 lengths in front of second place just cemented his domination. That move cemented itself in the minds of the fans and was later dubbed the Goldship Warp, because he seemingly disappeared from the cameras and then suddenly reappeared in the lead. This race was the one that really put Goldship on the map for most, and this move is one that is still being remembered as one of the most iconic moments in Japanese racehorsing history, even being recreated in the opening of the anime. Naturally, after that race, fans began to wonder whether we could have another Triple Crown winner on our hands here. After all, many fans believed that Goldship's strength was on long straights, stemming from the way he won his first graded race. So, Satsuki Show, a race with rather short straights, was considered the biggest hurdle on the way to the classic Triple Crown. That belief, however, was shattered pretty much immediately. In a Japanese derby, he started his characteristic late spurt a bit too late, only finishing in 5th place. Nevertheless, he bounced back from the defeat phenomenally, winning a G2 race and then winning both the Kikuga Show, the final leg of the Triple Crown, as well as one of the most prestigious G1 races, the Arima Kinan. Due to winning 2 legs of the classic Triple Crown, as well as one more G1 race in the same year, some fans consider Goldship to be an irregular Triple Crown winner. However, most do not, as that title is usually reserved for horses who aren't able to participate in one of the legs due to injury, not because they simply lost. Now normally, 3 G1 wins would put a horse comfortably in the conversation for GRA Horse of the Year, but unfortunately, he was up against an even more incredible year by Gentle Donna, who won 4 G1 races by winning the Phillies Triple Crown as well as the Japan Cup, leaving Goldship only with the title of Best 3-Year-Old Colt. Although fans were somewhat disappointed Goldship couldn't achieve a regular Triple Crown, they were sure that Goldship would go on to become a Hall of Fame level horse. But although his 6 G1 career wins in total are certainly very impressive, after winning 3 G1 races in 2012 alone, some would have expected more. Especially considering he won those 6 races in 4 years, where someone like Orfevre won 7 in only 3 years' time. But it seems like after the end of 2012, Bloodline's temperament seemed to kick in. Goldship oscillated from dominating the field to not being able to hang with the top. Back-to-back wins at the Takatoshi Imanami were certainly highlights, but sprinkled between those were some pretty disappointing finishes. Some of those lowlights include the 15th place at Japan Cup 2013 and the 14th place at the Arc de Triomphe in 2014. That Arc de Triomphe in particular is a distillation of Goldship's biggest troubles during his racing career. Goldship reportedly lost friends and French people. So, for showmanship, he broke out of the pre-race parade, standing and posing in front of spectators for photos. Naturally, the field was a very tough one, so victory wouldn't have been guaranteed anyways, but exhausting himself with his pre-race antics all but sealed his fate. However, in 2015, it seemed like he had gotten back into the groove. He started off the year strong, winning the Tenno Show, a G1 race he failed to take home victory in the 2 years prior. So, he next laid his eyes upon the Takatoshi Imanami. Having won it in the 2 previous years, Goldship could make history here by being the first horse to win this race 3 times in a row. However, just as his most euphoric race came pretty much at the start of his career, his most devastating loss came just before his retirement. In what has later been dubbed the 12 billion yen incident, Goldship seemed to panic at the start, reared up, and consequently left the gate quite a bit later than all the other racers. That type of disadvantage was insurmountable even for a horse like him, resulting in him finishing 15th out of 16 racers. Yokoyama, his jockey at the time, had the following to say: "I'm not sure what happened in his mind because he can't tell us. He's just Goldship. The result not only shocked fans, but also gamblers. The potential history in the making must have excited them, as a total of 12 billion yen or $135 million were lost in betting tickets that day. After the devastating loss, Goldship still participated in 2 more races, the Japan Cup and the Arimakinan. Getting only 10th and 8th, he ran honorably but wasn't really able to challenge for the top step. In his retirement ceremony that followed, many people thought he looked a bit sad. Droopy, sad eyes signaled to the fans that he was regretful for not being able to live up to audience expectations in his final race, and that he was sad he could no longer race and compete. Goldship, throughout his career, managed to earn almost 1.4 billion yen in winnings, putting him at the 14th highest earner of all time in Japan. Even after retirement, Goldship continued to be healthy, which is very uncommon for horses with races long and as much as he has. This has led some fans to speculate on whether he really gave it his all the time during his racing career. After his retirement, his owners naturally wanted him to be a stallion. After all, a 6-time G1 race winner would be bound to produce good offsprings, would be a nice source of income for the owners. However, he was not accepted into the Shadai Stallion Station, the central hub for Japan's top breeding operations. The main reason for that was Orfevre, chosen to be the main successor of Stay Gold. The group believed that Orfevre was a safer bet than Goldship, exhibiting all the same, if not more race prowess, without all the unpredictable performances on track. In a way, Goldship's situation mirrored that of a Sire Stay Gold, having to prove their worth as a stud outside of the Shadai system. Unlike Orfevre, Goldship was seemingly enthusiastic about breeding, although he was rather chatty with mares when bred. Although he was underestimated as a sire early on, by 2023 his stallion record improved, even surpassed Orfevre in rankings. By 2024 he became so popular that sessions were almost impossible to book, and by 2025 the stud fee was set at a whopping 4 million yen. The reason for that? His high conception rate. Whereas Orfevre never had a conception rate exceeding 65%, Goldship's is reported to be somewhere between 96 and 99%, with it even being 99.1% in 2019, where only 1 out of 107 mares failed to conceive. So even though his progeny might not be the most successful, only producing 2 G1 winners so far as opposed to Orfevre's 5, his value as a last-ditch effort, being near guaranteed to produce offsprings no matter the mare, led to him being one of the most in-demand stallions in Japan. There's no doubt that Uma Musume is a global phenomenon now, but as interesting as the characters in the show and game are, I find the real-life counterparts to be as, if not more, interesting. Learning about the real-life Goldship has given me much more appreciation towards side games and how they manage to bring the essence of what makes Goldship so special to life. If you're just like me in that way, I highly recommend you to watch some of his real-life races, especially the 2012 Sasuke show and Arimakinan, as it will give you a new appreciation of just how awesome of a horse he was. When I started this series, I never thought I'd get this invested, but here I am, not only still loving the show and pouring countless hours into the game, but actively getting invested in the real-life counterparts of these characters. And although Goldship might be one of the more widely known Japanese racehorses by the general masses right now, there are some who are even more interesting, even more mysterious, that some of you might not even know exist. Nevertheless, Goldship himself still runs around happily and healthily on the Big Red Farm in Hokkaido, so if you're ever in the area and fancy a visit, you know where to find him. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video.